I do think this is a horrible moment for the country. You know, one of the president's defense team lawyers, David Schoen, he opened with this, which I think is true, have this entire idea of what the Democrats are trying to do with this impeachment, because it's not about removing President Trump. He's no longer president. It's not even about President Trump. He's the former president. I don't even know who's on trial because the Chief Justice isn't there, so it's not the president. It's us, and I think they made that clear. Take a listen to David Schoen.
This trial will tear this country apart, perhaps like we have only seen once before in our history. The House managers, in their wisdom, have hired a movie company and a large law firm to create, manufacture, and splice for you a package designed by experts to chill and horrify you and our fellow Americans.
First time around with impeachment, I think people were tied to it. It was the president was in office. You had all these House hearings. You had all these cast of characters, as you would say, the Adam Schiffs of the world. You had, we were involved on the floor. So you had these kind of famous attorneys, if you will. Alan Dershowitz, Ken Starr, Jay Sekulow, Pat Cipollone, White House counsel, all that. And you strip all that away this time, and the president's not the president anymore, and the Chief Justice isn't there. And they might be trying to get people to watch it. And yes, it's still COVID, so a lot of people are at home. But I feel like this is not what they're tuning into. So it maybe won't have the same political impact that they're trying to have on tarnishing the president.
Yeah, probably won't, Jordan. I mean, I think they're looking for any impact at all. And I think the biggest factor there is that there's not a sitting president. I mean, the last time around, look, whatever you think about the case, had the Senate voted to convict, it would have resulted in the sitting president having to vacate office. That's not the case now. I mean, hypothetically, I don't think the Senate is going to convict here, Jordan. But if they did, what would the impact be? The impact would be that Joe Biden would still be the president. He's going to be the president either way. So you just don't have that factor in play. I think that's really playing into it.
Look, the Democrats here rushed an impeachment through while the president was still in office. They conducted no hearings. It didn't go to the Judiciary Committee. Nobody conducted any analysis into whether or not high crimes and misdemeanors had been committed by the president. The only purpose was to tarnish the president and to blacken his reputation. This is, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, this is nothing but a bill of attainder. And that's an important thing that our audience ought to look up. It is an attempt to violate the bloodline, so to speak, of the incumbent president and to prevent him from holding office ever and ever again. It's not going to work.
But let me tell you something about the House managers right now. They just pulled another lie. So they played President Trump from a Georgia rally where he said, now is not the time to give up. Now is the time to keep fighting. He wasn't talking about his election. He was talking about the two Senate races there. But the House managers didn't explain that. So they played this to the U.S. Senate without context. Take a listen. This is President Trump the day before January 6th. He was in Georgia at a rally. Take a listen.
We will never surrender. We will only win. Now is not the time to retreat. Now is the time to fight harder than ever before.
Understand this. Understand that right before that, he said, we have to get out the vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler to show the radical left that we'll never surrender. We will only win. It was a political rally in Georgia. And Andy, they didn't play that part. They don't tell you. They're acting like these U.S. senators aren't smart enough to figure that out. They are. And the Democrats who want to ignore that, fine. But the Republicans who are there sitting there saying, my God, I might have been at that rally, saying the same thing.
This is the selective presentation of evidence, Jordan. This is not a full, fair, and complete trial that you would have in a courtroom. This is a political trial. They have taken a page out of the Stalinist show trials of the 1930s. You pick and choose what you want to say. You don't show the whole video. You show snippets of it. This video would never be admissible in a court of law because it is not a complete transcript of the evidence. It is partial. It would never be admissible in any court in the land. And yet they presume to show it before the United States Senate and to predicate a conviction of a former president, remember, a former president, upon a spliced up video montage without the key elements and the predicate sayings like he did in Georgia. He was talking about Ossoff and Warnock. So we elected them. We elected leftists to the Senate. You don't have the right, if you're a conservative, to fight against them? Of course you do. I wish we do. Warnock's up in 2 years. I hope the president comes back and fights again. And the same thing with Ossoff. So if he uses the word fight again, what's wrong with that? That's what we do in the United States. It's called the rough and tumble of American politics. And it's perfectly permissible.
Because again, the idea that you can't use the word fight as a politician, they keep throwing this up on the screen while I'm talking to you right now. Fight. That is a word that you can no longer use in politics. I want to go to Harry Hutchinson, also a former law professor. Harry, the idea that you can't use the word fight in political speech, man, we would all be in trouble.
Fight has been part of the vocabulary of politicians going back hundreds of years. And in fact, if you look at recent history, the recent history of the Democrats over the last 12 months or so, they have been encouraging people to do what? To fight in Portland, Oregon, to fight in Seattle, to fight in Minnesota, in St. Louis, you name it. Wherever riots have been found, Democrats have been urging people to continue to fight. And so we cannot exclude the word fight from our vocabulary, particularly when we deal with politicians. And so the Democrats have engaged in a selective memory campaign. They're basically saying we can use the word fight as much as we want to, but when a Republican uses the word fight, then that Republican faces legal jeopardy.
What happened on January 6th was deplorable. It was horrible. It hurts us to even watch some of the video. But as we've said on the show before, the impeachment article as it's written is a pretty sloppy impeachment article. But the House Managers' point so far is not it's designed not to convict Trump, but to arouse shock and indignation with what they're saying and what they're showing. And I don't know about you, but all of us are shocked and indignant over what happened on January the 6th. But what they're failing to prove is that President Trump actually caused that or incited that, even though that's their stated charge. In the meantime, as you alluded to, Jordan, Americans are struggling. We are tired of being pushed into our corners politically. We're tired of political revenge. I think we would like to move on, especially knowing that a conviction is extremely unlikely. Why are we putting ourselves through this? Well, we are not putting ourselves through this. The Democrats in the House and Senate are forcing us to deal with this.